Welcome to the Labor Force Podcast. Stories of the working class in a time of renewed labor militancy and awareness that capitalism is a rotten deal. I'm your host, Mike Strugan, proud member of New York State United Teachers.
Oh God, I gotta interview this guy with the couch. Pardon me, dude. I gotta interview you. Yeah. Would you mind? Fuck Nazis! Fuck JD! Fuck Trump! And then your what? Sorry?
Oh, my buddy helped me make it. So.
Oh, okay. So first, the camera isn't going to capture the full 360 of the couch that you are wearing on your back.
Yeah.
Can you describe what it says on this and why you wanted to wear it?
Yeah, so I made this in honor of JD's visit to Minneapolis yesterday. And on the sitting side, it says, I'm not your one-night stand, I'm a sofa. And then the other side, my buddy, right over there we go. Tell him about the side you made.
Well, JD Vance's favorite spot is right around the corner here. You can see some, plant seed. You know what I mean? Fuck white nationalism and fuck Trump and the agenda of the far right. Love thy neighbor. It's the second most important commandment according to the Christianity that they supposedly follow. And what can you say? I mean, it's awful what they're doing. Love thy neighbor.
What's your reaction to just seeing so many people on the streets today? I mean, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people who joined the protest today. What was your reaction to seeing this mass demonstration?
I mean, it's great. Honestly, it's what I expect. I'm from here. I live here. We care. I mean, Minnesota, Minneapolis, throughout history, throughout American history, we're a bastion of progressive rights. Like the progressive movement kind of started here. We're a proud, progressive city. I mean, we've got excellent public schools. We have one of the highest leader seating per capita in the country. We're one of the best biking cities in the country. We have a lot to be proud of. And, one of the things we're proud of is that we're one of the few states after the Vietnam War, when our allies, the Hmong people in the hills of Vietnam were being massacred, I think we're the only state that said, come here. And then also with people from Somalia, they're leaving a war, they're leaving just excruciating, deadly, they might die situations, and they come here and they contribute. Honestly, a lot of the most beautiful women in Minneapolis are from Somalia and that part of the world. Wonderful and important.
That clip courtesy of Status Quo News' coverage of yesterday's mass action in Minnesota, as tens of thousands took part in a coordinated economic blackout and mass protests dubbed the Day of Truth and Freedom to oppose the surge in ICE operations in the state, with many workers, students, and shoppers staying home and hundreds of businesses closing in solidarity. The action was organized by community leaders, labor unions, and faith groups, and included a major march in Minneapolis despite dangerously cold weather, as protesters demanded that ICE leave Minnesota, that the ICE officer who killed Renee Good be held accountable, an end to ICE funding, an investigation into alleged human rights and constitutional violations by the agency. Organizers called for no work, no school, no shopping as part of the strike, and the Minneapolis City Council endorsed the day of action in the broader general strike. About 100 clergy members were arrested during a peaceful gathering at the Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport, and demonstrations continued downtown with large crowds filling the streets. And according to Payday Report, in Pittsburgh, over 300 activists occupied a Target in the East Liberty neighborhood, chanting "ICE out of Target, ICE out of Target." The retail giant based in Minneapolis has become a target of Minnesota general strike activists, given their cooperation with the Trump administration. And according to an analysis by Payday Report, there were over 300 Minneapolis general strike solidarity actions nationwide. Organizers hope there will be more actions across the country to reduce ICE's activity and get more businesses and union leaders to speak out. Quote, "This isn't just a one-off. What I want it to be is something that delivers a blow and shows how serious we are and provides some lessons for us learning in terms of building the movement, but also provides some ideas about how to take that next step," CWA Minneapolis Local 7520 President Kieran Knutson told Payday Report. And what does the next step look like? What does it take to shut down the cities for a sustained amount of time? And out west, the union representing 31,000 nurses, rehab therapists, pharmacists, and other specialty healthcare professionals at Kaiser Permanente announced plans to begin an open-ended strike at nearly 20 Kaiser hospitals and 200 clinics across California and Hawaii starting January 26th, with no end in sight. After months of stalled contract negotiations, the union said, "We'll be on strike until we reach an agreement," and warned the action will likely cause delayed or canceled surgeries and appointments. The United Nurses Associations of California, Union of Healthcare Professionals, UNAC-UHCP, is part of an alliance of healthcare unions that previously staged a 5-day multi-state strike in October to demand wage and staffing increases. Talks resumed after that walkout but broke down in mid-December, with Kaiser negotiators accusing union leaders of not bargaining in good faith and alleging a union official threatened to release evidence of illegal, unethical, and reputationally damaging information about Kaiser Permanente if an agreement was not reached. The union also filed a ULP charge after Kaiser proposed negotiating locally with other unions, and it posted a report alleging the Kaiser Permanente Group Trust invested in private prison companies. How about that one for size? UNAC, UHCP, and the Alliance are seeking a 25% wage boost over 4 years, which Kaiser said would force rate increases, while Kaiser maintains workers already earn above market wages, drawing the line at 21.5%. So we'll get you there, but not quite. We're going to round it to 21.5%, not 22, not 23, 21.5, and you're going to take it or you're going to leave it. Well, based on their prior actions, they're going to leave it, and they're going to leave it till they get what they want from this greedy company, once again, sucking up the profits under the guise of healthcare. And some organizing to talk about. Hundreds of staff at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York voted on January 16th to unionize, forming one of the largest bargaining units at a major U.S. cultural institution after a years-long organizing effort. The tally was 542 in favor and 172 against joining Local 2110 of the UAW, with roughly 100 additional votes challenged by the museum that'll be resolved through arbitration before certification by the NLRB. Workers from more than 50 departments, including curators, conservators, librarians, visitor experience coordinators, digital and tech staff, supported the union drive, seeking greater job security, pay equity, and clearer workplace policies after organizing for more than 4 years with UAW backing. A digital archivist said, "By unionizing, we aren't just protecting our own jobs, we're building a collective voice to ensure every staff member, now and in the future, gets the respect and protection they deserve, highlighting the staff's expertise in our labor have real value deserving of recognition." Meanwhile, Micron Technology broke ground on a massive semiconductor manufacturing complex in the town of Clay, north of Syracuse, marking the start of construction on what officials say will be the largest private investment in New York State history, a $100 billion project expected to create tens of thousands of jobs and transform the regional economy. At the ceremony on January 16th, Micron executives and federal, state, and local leaders emphasized the plant's anticipated impact, with Micron CEO Sanjay Malhotra saying it will become a thriving technology hub, generating tens of thousands of jobs here, and laying the groundwork for a future where Central New York will be the heartbeat of the AI economy. The project, backed in part by federal CHIPS and Science Act funding to bolster U.S. semiconductor manufacturing, is aimed at boosting domestic chip production and supply chain resilience, and officials highlighted its significance for good-paying jobs and economic revitalization. Governor Kathy Hochul called the groundbreaking a milestone and one of the most significant economic development projects in our state's history, saying it will help Central New York become a global leader in advanced manufacturing and create tens of thousands of good-paying jobs. Production at the first fab is expected to begin in about 4 years, with additional facilities planned over the next 2 decades that together could eventually support up to 50,000 jobs in the region. That said, a last-minute lawsuit was filed in the New York State Supreme Court seeking to block construction of Micron on environmental grounds, arguing that the project's review process was flawed and didn't allow adequate time for public comment. The suit aims to halt work just as site preparation and tree clearing begin on the massive $100 billion chip-making campus. Environmental critics and community groups have previously raised concerns about the plant's environmental impact, including the thoroughness of the state and federal environmental review, potential harm to wetlands and wildlife, and calls for more extensive public input and mitigation measures. Construction preparations are underway following years of permitting and review, and state officials maintain that the necessary environmental permits have been issued to protect natural resources while allowing the project to move forward. And up here about an hour north of Syracuse, local officials want to be ready for the impact.
In the news here tonight, now that Micron has broken ground on its massive chip-making plant near Syracuse, the race is on to be ready for the ripple effects. As 7 News reporter Chad Charette learned in Jefferson County, it gives economic officials a chance to use an empty site near the airport in a different way.
Micron is coming, and among local officials, there's no doubt the $100 billion investment in a massive semiconductor plant some 40 miles from the Jefferson County border will have a ripple effect. The question is, will Jefferson County be ready when it hits?
We want to make sure we're prepared. We want to make sure we have the industrial sites that are ready to go, that have the right infrastructure, electricity, water, sewer, natural gas, whatever's required, so that as these companies start to look for locations to be close to Micron, we want to be in the game.
Jefferson County Administrator Ryan Pichet says that'll be a major priority in 2026. In fact, it's one of the county's legislative priorities listed here, to develop a new industrial park to meet Micron's supply chain demands. The likely location, the currently unused airport business park, once eyed as the site for a solar panel manufacturer.
We need to be working with Onondaga County, with our New York State partners to get prepared now. 2026 is the right time to start making sure that our ducks are in a row.
At Jefferson County Economic Development, CEO Marshall Weir is similarly optimistic, especially now that Micron has broken ground.
It's been a long time coming, and knowing how long these processes can take to get these things off the ground, very excited.
It'll likely be a few years before microchips are being made at the plant. Like Pichet, he'd like to see the airport business park developed, and he's also floated the idea of housing projects.
There's been a lot of questions about how exactly this is going to be a benefit to Jefferson County, and we're working hard to be ready for any of them, whether that be housing, whether that be tourism, potential manufacturing.
And Chad is live in studio tonight. Chad, the southern part of Jefferson County is, of course, closer to that Micron plant. Could development happen there, not just around the airport?
Yeah, Jeff, that's likely. Adamstown Supervisor Kathy Bailing and I spoke today. She says while there are no concrete plans, being a place for new housing projects for Micron workers is very much on the table.
We're not just talking about quitting your job, though let's be real, that's always tempting, but about something a little sneakier, working on your own terms, not the boss's clock. So have you ever stopped to think about why 9 to 5 is the standard? I mean, for a long time, that just seemed normal to me. Wake up, get your coffee, drive into the office, punch in. You know how it is. But get this, a whopping 65% of workers say they're interested in something called microshifting. That's according to the Owl Labs 2025 State of Hybrid Work Report. So this isn't just people talking at lunch. This is real data. The whole idea is about working in short, nonlinear blocks based on when you're actually feeling productive or when life lets you, instead of just sitting at a desk because you're supposed to be there. The pandemic, as much as we all want to forget it, shook things up here. Folks had to improvise, working from kitchen counters, awkwardly hopping on Zoom calls with pets and kids in the background. Suddenly, you realize that maybe you don't need to be glued to your desk from 9 to 5. Instead, it's, what do I actually need to get done today? When am I best able to do it? That's microshifting. The appeal, at least for most people, isn't about just slacking off, but about getting back some control over your own time, which, let's be honest, feels pretty good if you ever felt like work is smothering your personal life. Okay, let's get concrete. Not just theory, but what does this actually look like out in the world? Doug Gregory, he's an AV integrator from Michigan, has been living this way for decades, way before anyone slapped a catchy label on it. Doug's work is all about blending life and job, not clocking in just because the calendar tells him to. If his grandkid wants to go grab ice cream, or if he needs a doctor's appointment, he just moves things around, gets the work handled later, or wakes up a little earlier. He told CNBC, "Nobody sends me a check for how many hours I work in a week. It's all about what gets done in the end." That's kind of where microshifting really shines, right? You're responsible for outcomes, not for sitting in a chair X number of hours. But I gotta admit, not everyone gets to do this. Doug even said, not everybody has control over their calendar. And yeah, if your job's all about being somewhere at a set time, like retail or factory work, it's not so simple. Same problem if your boss is a micromanager who needs to see you green dot online all day. It brings up this big question for me. Does it all come down to trust? If your employer or your clients trust you'll get the job done, they don't care when or how, but if they do, well, then you're stuck. And honestly, that limits who can even try this kind of schedule. It's awesome for freelancers, remote salespeople, project managers, anyone with a bit of autonomy. But for a lot of office workers or hourly folks, the rules are still pretty rigid. I just want to point out, for the folks who can do it, microshifting isn't just about sneaking away for a midday nap. It's a whole mentality shift about what we value in work. But let's switch gears and talk about where microshifting really makes a difference. Caregivers. This is where Owl Labs' report really exposes something. Caregivers are 3 times more likely to microshift their schedules compared to folks without those kinds of responsibilities. And if you know someone juggling care, maybe it's for kids, parents, partners, there's never enough time in the day. Theresa Robertson from Maryland is such a powerful example. She spent 25 years caring for her late husband, who had chronic health needs, while keeping down different jobs. She didn't just work around doctor's appointments, she figured out a whole system. Get him settled, make sure he's okay, then carve out a chunk of time for work. Sometimes it meant early mornings, sometimes working late so she could make the hospital runs. The key thing was, as long as she got her projects done, on time and on budget, nobody really cared if she was at her desk at 7 a.m. or not. This is where technology has really helped. Theresa did Zoom meetings from hospital rooms, work wherever she could open her laptop, and basically made her job bend to her life, not the other way around. She calls microshifting the only way she's able to have a life and still earn an income. And today, running a virtual assistant agency, she set up her Fridays to actually get back time for herself. The real question is, can more workplaces stretch to meet people, especially vulnerable workers, where they are? If we're serious about outcome-based jobs and harnessing tools like remote work, why not make microshifting the rule and not the exception? It's something I think we're going to need to talk about a lot more as our lives and work keep blending together. Hopefully this gives you something to chew on, whether you're stuck in the office, freelancing, or running from one Zoom to the next. That said, let's get into AI and labor at this juncture. Here's Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei at the World Economic Forum this week.
If we just take, just for an example, as one of the risks, we take the economic side of it, my view is the signature of this technology is it's going to take us to a world where we have very high GDP growth and potentially also very high unemployment and inequality. Now, that's not a combination we've almost ever seen before, right? You think of it as high GDP growth, that's lots of stuff to do, lots of jobs for everyone. It's always been like that in the past. We've never had a technology that's this disruptive. So the idea that we could have 5 or 10% GDP growth, but also, 10% unemployment, it's not logically inconsistent at all. It's just never happened that way before. And I'm really quite, for those both reasons, excited and worried. If I take an example, something like AI coding, the latest model release, Claude Opus 4.5, I have some engineering leads within Anthropic who have basically said to me, I don't write any code anymore. I just let Opus do the work and I edit it. We just released a new thing called Claude Cowork. We can go into that later, but this was a version of our tool, Claude Code, for non-coding. This was built in a week and a half, almost entirely with Claude Opus. There are still things for the software engineers to do, right? It's like, even if the software engineers are only doing 10% of it, they still have a job to do, or they can take a level up. That's not going to last forever. The models are going to do more and more. And so there's an incredible, this is a microcosm. You can see there's an incredible amount of productivity here. Software is going to become cheap, maybe essentially free. The premise that you need to amortize a piece of software you build across millions of users, that may start to be false. Like, for this meeting, it might cost a few cents to just say, I don't know, let's make some apps so people can talk to each other. It just may be very flexible and recyclable. But at the same time, there are whole jobs, whole careers that we've built for decades that may not be present. And, I think we can deal with it. I think we can adjust to it. But I don't think there's an awareness at all of what is coming here and the magnitude of it.
As reported by CNBC, we have this tidal wave of AI-driven layoffs that's just smashing into the job market like a tsunami. That's actually not even my analogy. That's straight from the headlines this year at the World Economic Forum in Davos. Every time I scroll through the news, it feels like there's another story about Amazon or Salesforce dropping thousands of workers. And you look close and AI is right there in the press release, named as a key reason. And it isn't just a couple tech giants. Accenture, Lufthansa, handful of others, they're all citing automation, restructuring, and all the rest. According to the IMF's Kristalina Georgieva, AI is a major factor for economic growth, sure, but countries and companies just aren't ready for this kind of shakeup. If anything, what's happening now? It's just the first major wave, and the big anxiety storm is still looming for 2026. And here's something worth noting. Consulting firms like Challenger, Gray, and Christmas say AI had a role in nearly 55,000 layoffs just last year. Salesforce, their CEO straight up said AI was doing about half the work those folks used to handle. That's how quickly things are changing. It's not just techies, support staff, consultants, even airline groups. Suddenly, future-proofing isn't some distant thing you worry about. It's right now. The burning question nobody wants to say out loud in these meetings is, am I next? So let's talk about what all these layoffs mean for the people actually inside these companies. The fear, the anxiety, it's blowing up. Mercer did this big global survey, 12,000 folks, and found the number of workers stressed about losing their jobs to AI is now at a whopping 40% for 2026. Just 2 years ago, only 28%. That's a massive jump. And here's the kicker. 62% of people think their leaders are totally underestimating how much this is messing with people's heads. Like, it's not just a threat to your paycheck, it's uncertainty, it's a relentless push to adapt, and nobody is really prepared for it. What's even messier is all this tension is probably going to play out in lawsuits and labor disputes. Think privacy, copyright, even workplace well-being. Deutsche Bank analysts say the anxiety that was just a low hum is going to be a full-on roar this year. And they pulled up this Stanford study about how recent grads and roles exposed to AI saw a real drop, like a 16% decline in employment. Meanwhile, workers with a few more years under their belts, not as affected. But all these studies are kind of inconclusive and noisy. And not to let companies off the hook, but some execs, people like Randstad's CEO or Yale researchers, they're saying maybe we're all freaking out a bit too much. The actual labor market impact, at least so far, isn't as dramatic as headlines want you to think. Firms might be using AI as a nice, clean rationale for layoffs they'd probably make anyway, just blaming the robots, right? They're calling it AI redundancy washing, which, yeah, is a fucking hilarious piece of jargon. The real challenge, at least for now, is less about robots gobbling up every job and more about tackling that looming wave of anxiety head on and figuring out what's real and what's just, panic. Which brings me to the part everyone's been waiting for. How the hell do we deal with all this? Upskilling, reskilling, learning how to work with these new AI tools instead of being replaced by them. Companies that ignore this are about to get crushed. Mercer's report found that 97% of investors are saying, nope, not putting my money in your business if you're slacking on AI education for your teams. Even more said, we actually prefer companies that are giving their folks a shot to learn these skills. If you're not keeping your workforce up to speed, you're absolutely risking your own future. There's the shift happening, and top executives are calling it. The year of great adaptation is 2026. Businesses are being told it's not enough to just add AI, you gotta blend it with actual human skills. There's real opportunity if you do that, and a cliff if you don't. You could work at a mid-sized tech outfit. The company rolls out AI certificate courses, pays for them, encourages folks to enroll. Those people are still there, moving into new roles, building their own safety nets, not just surviving but actually thriving. Compare that with workers in industries that haven't budged, jobs stagnant, morale sinking, recruiters nowhere in sight. So bottom line, this AI wave isn't stopping, but neither is the push for us to keep learning. If you're listening to this and thinking the robots are coming for your job next, yeah, maybe, but arming yourself with new skills, demanding your company does the same, that's going to be your best bet at weathering the storm. So we bring it all together. It's clear we're in a moment of real transition. Power is being contested everywhere, in the streets, in the workplace, and increasingly in how work itself is defined. The through line isn't chaos, it's workers asking the same basic question in different ways. Who does this economy actually serve? Whether it's collective action that shuts down a city, or an individual reshaping their schedule to survive, or workers demanding a say in how AI gets rolled out, none of this is happening by accident. These are responses to systems that have pushed flexibility, risk, and insecurity onto workers while hoarding control at the top. And what we're seeing now is people pushing back, sometimes loudly, sometimes quietly, but with growing confidence that things don't have to stay this way. So as 2026 rolls on, the real fight isn't just about technology or schedules or contracts. It's about dignity, agency, and solidarity as always. Because none of these battles are isolated. and none of them get one alone. If there's one lesson running through all of it, it's that the future of work is still being written, and working people are refusing to stay out of the story. Well, that does it for this episode. If you like what you hear, give a rate or review on your favorite podcast app to help me grow. I'm proud to be part of the Labor Radio Podcast Network, with over 200 labor shows you can check out at laborradionetwork.org. This has been the Labor Force Podcast. I'm Mike Strukin. Solidarity, always.